by Rabbi Zalmanov, and it's a likut of Rishimis from Farbregen Rebbe. I suspect that a lot of these Rishimis were written for the Sefer Negunim, because there's Rishimis that are in no place else except here. The only place we have these das is here.
Which Sefer is that?
Sefer HaNegunim. The whole nigun is das.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, there's a Moeden Deka Hagdom. It's very long, and it has about each nigun. So the first nigun is the Alter Rebbe's nigun. Let me see. I'm almost sure that in this Sefer, it says when we sing it. A bris, a bar mitzvah, a chasane, in chodesh Elul bam davnin, this is from Ois Ches. A bris, a bar mitzvah, a chasane, un oich in chodesh Elul bam davnin. That's one place. Give me a second. That's I didn't find anything more. There's some place where it says befedish where we sing it. I only found those few places.
When we sing what?
When we sing, I'm asking if we sing the Alter Rebbe's thinking like Baimer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like Baimer is called Yilula, no?
Say again, please.
Like Baimer is called Yilula.
Ubemela. Ubemela.
I know that Simon Jacobson had them sing it on the Hatzalah broadcast.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's bearing in any way, but just out of interest.
Oh, here it says. Here it is. I found it. B'yayim achen shel gimel regalim. Purim. Yud Kislev. Yud Beis Tammuz, I knew it was here. Simchas Chasana Kedema. This is on page Mem Gimel of the Sefer Anegunim. And the other place was page Chav Dalet Sefer Anegunim. In the first place it says, Abris, Yutas Kislev, Abris, Bar Mitzvah, Chasana Chedesh Elo. And here it says, the last day of each of the 3 Yomim Tevim, Purim, Yutas Kislev, Yud Beis Tammuz, Simchas Chasana, Ukedaim. So the shaila is Ateres Menachem Shalom Aleichem is I don't hear. Ich hab den nicht gehört.
Freilichen lag Bäume.
Yeah, a gesundheit from the Gula Shleima. Anyway, so that's the question. Should we sing the Alter Rebbe's Niggin on Lag Baimer? If someone could come up with a...
Darf ich mir entschuldigt, der Rabbi Yossi, darf ich mir heit, mein gesungen. Beim Reben.
Beim Reben kann man singen jeden Tag. Beim Reben singen mehrere Mal, der Alter Rebbe's Niggin. Du gedenkst, Birchas Achama?
Ja.
Du gedenkst dem Genoi?
Ah?
Du gedenkst Genoi, Bediuk?
Ich kam 14 Jahre alt.
Wer hat angehebt mal den Rebbe's Niggin?
Der Rebbe geheißen und so Anfang.
Also er steht in der Regime, ja? Also er steht in der Regime.
Aber der Rebbe geklappt mit den Händen auf die Stände beim Schassen. Das ist gewesen sehr größer Israelschuss, also er gedenkt sich.
Ich bin gewesen in Kalifornien. Ich hab nicht gekannt Zen, aber ich mich kennt Herren. Mir liegt im Kopf, der Rebbe hat allein angeheben. Aber Yossi Lo hat mir gesagt, das nicht stimmt. Auf dem Tape kann man nicht wissen, was hat schon mitten. Aber mir dachte sich, der Rebbe hat allein angeheben. Mit nicht gesungen in der Hachone liegen. Sie sind gleich dem Alter Rebbe's Ding, an der Hachone. Ah? Ja.
Ich bin an der Achon.
Okay, L'chaim, everybody, L'chaim. Okay, whoever has their thing on, please put yourself on mute. A few of you are not muted because I can hear a lot of noise. Okay, Menachem Mendel, Gansberg, you have to mute yourself, okay? I don't want to make speeches. Menachem Mendel Gansberg, you have to mute yourself. You have to put yourself on mute. You're not muted. I don't want to give drushes and populim. I don't want to put you to sleep because I'm already asleep myself. But I want to share with you a word. You know, I told you before the Maise with Reb Hillel. I told you the Maise with Reb Hillel. What's the Maise with Reb Hillel? The Maise with Reb Hillel is that he was very frum, was a moilendike mahada b'mitzvahs. And when he was asked about his frumkeit, he said, my whole frumkeit is as I sich besser ablegen avod chassidus. An idea in Chassidus should click by me, uplegen. In other words, Reb Hillel's frumkeit was not stamazeh to torture himself, to make himself suffer, or as they say in the modern world, because he's OCD. The frumkeit of Reb Hillel was a keli for oyer, it was a keli for Chassidus. So the statement that I want to make, the nekuda that I want to say, and like I said, I'm going to try not to be too philosophical, because I don't want to stamazeh reden. Is that to be a yid, you have to work hard. Period. Lo yagaitu matzasa al tamin. If you want to succeed as a Jew, you got to work hard. However, the inyan of Chassidus and the inyan of Kabbalah and the inyan of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is oyer. The Chiddush of Pnimis HaTorah, the Baal Shem Tov and the Arizal and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is oyer, lichtigkeit, oyer. Oyer is not hard. Oyer comes from the Eibishter. But a chassid, especially a pnimi, a real chassid, worked on himself. And Faket, he worked on himself more than a yid who wasn't a chassid, because only then would the oyer of Chassidus reach him, would the light of Chassidus reach him in a healthy way, in a correct way, and so on. So Chassidim am gehorevet. Chassidim worked very, very hard. But just like in the story of Rabbi Hillel, the point of the Yagiyah was the oil that came after. In other words, the difference in a Chassidish frumkeit and a Misnagdish frumkeit is, the opposite of frum is not chas v'shalom frei, you know? Everybody's frum. We all keep Torah mitzvahs. Some people are very mahader b'mitzvahs, and they're medaktek b'mitzvahs, and they're lefnim yishuras adin b'mitzvahs. I mean, to give you an example, which today everybody does. We do Netilas Yadayim for bread, we wash our hands 3 times, not twice or not once. Our tefillin are more mehuded than the tefillin of our ancestors. I mean, who does not eat today shmura matzah? Who does not eat shmura mishas k'tzirah? Who does not eat shmura the entire 8 days of Pesach? Amalek Tzaitin, if you were lucky, you got shmura for the Seder. Shmura mishas k'tzirah, that shmura mishas tchina, shmura mishas k'tzirah, shmura mishas tchina. Matzah has to be shmura, but that should be shmura mishas k'tzirah. You couldn't afford it. Today, everybody eats shmura mishas k'tzirah. You wouldn't even think shmura matzah, that's not shmura mishas k'tzirah, you wouldn't even cross your mind to let it into your house. So in many ways, we're mahader b'mitzvahs in things that Amalek Tzaitin people did not have. But the difference between the hider mitzvah of a non-chassid, of a misnagid, let's use that word, even though it's not the correct word, and it's not a good word, and it's not a helpful word, and the chassidische frumkeit is at the end of a misnagdische frumkeit was the frumkeit itself. Zihirus in kiyam mitzvahs lefnimi shuras adin, to be very medaktik, was an end. And by Chassidim, there was an idea that the Yagiyah has to do with Oyer. Which is why the meaning by Chassidim was, you didn't just decide you want to be from. You had to get the Rebbe's Reshus. Moreover, every frumkeit, every inyan of hidden mitzvah that you undertook, you had to go special to the Rebbe, either personally or at a letter, and get Reshus to take on another chumrah, another hidden mitzvah. I'm not talking that chas v'sholom not to be from. We're talking about lifnai v'lifnim yeshuras hadin. And sometimes the Rebbe would say no. I'll give you a modern example. This is before my times, and certainly before your times. But my father, the minig when my father was a bach in yeshiva, it wasn't yet established that he put the Tam film onto bar mitzvah. Every bar mitzvah bach got one period film, the Rashid film. And from the time you were 18 or so, they went in those days. They went to the Rebbe to Yechidus every year. You would ask the Rebbe about putting on a Ben Tam film. So many bacharim, they went to the Rebbe at 18 years old. They said, "Should I put on a Ben Tam film?" And the Rebbe said, "Yeah." Other bacharim, the Rebbe said, "No." The next day they would ask again, and then they turned 20. The Rebbe would say, "Yeah." My father, so Gezun Zayin, the Rebbe did not let him putting on a Ben Tam film until he became a chassan. So it was very, very individual. And there's a story with a bacher who said to himself, the Rebbe gives everybody permission at 18, he's going to do it himself. And the Rebbe heard about it. And the Rebbe said, "How you talking? You didn't ask." He says, but the Rebbe tells everybody, he says, you have to ask. And then one day, the Rebbe suddenly announces, every bar mitzvah bacher should put on a tam tefillin. And then, of course, later the meaning became that the day you put on Rashi, you step in time. You don't even have a hefsek in between. There's a davar yadua that the Rebbe Rashab used to wash each hand 3 times in the Netilas Yadayim with a towel, with an aluntis. Both of these things were chedushim. And the Rebbe saw once a Yid imitate him. 2 Yidden. 2 Yidden watched how the Rebbe Rashab washed, and they just did the same thing. They took a towel, they washed each hand 3 times. One of them was a Poshet Yid. He didn't know no Chochmas. He was not smart, he wasn't learned. He saw what the Rebbe did, he imitated him. The Rebbe didn't say a word to him. The other one was a Bal Madrege. The other one, Gehalt Manyon and Pnimiyim. And when he saw how the Rebbe washed, he also washed like that. And the Rebbe said to him, Wer sagt, dass ihr halt bei dem? Who says you're holding by it? So he told to the Rebbe, but the Rebbe fits chazeh. The Rebbe is watching like this. And the Rebbe said, Wer sagt, dass ihr halt bei dem? Maybe you're not ready to do this. And by the Rebbe Nishmas Hayden, by the Rebbe Rashab, the Friedrich Rebbe's father, there was a klal. He used to say about himself, a klal godel, quote, Ich hab nit lieb, ich hab nit holt, as men macht mich noch. I don't like when people imitate me. In Chumres, the mitzvah, you have to have rishus. Today is a different time. In our generation, the minig is based, of course, on the Rebbe's own teachings. Chateva achel, chateva ishtiya, chaparai, and every opportunity to do another even the mitzvah we take on. But in those days, you had to have rishus. You couldn't just do whatever you want. A kid said, this is all a hagdama to a maisa. The maisa I'm about to tell you is written down by the Blazer Nanas Alav Shalom, who was a very special man. He lived 99 years. 99 years. He spent almost 20 years in the Soviet Gulag. When he came out of Russia, he was almost 70 years old. He was an old man. And the Rebbe told him that the 20 years that he spent in the Russian prisons are not in the cheshbon. So him and his wife lived to almost till 100, both of them. A mamsha pele. A pile ploim de kazach. The Blazer Nanas. So the Blazer Nanas learned in Lubavitch. The Blazer Nanas came from the colonies in Kherson. I don't know how much history you know. The colonies in Kherson, the Kherson colonies where the Mittler Rebbe got land from Alexander, from the Russian king at the time, and he moved around 2,000 mishpachas of Anash to the Kherson, to the Ukraine, that they should work the land. And they became farmers. The Mittler Rebbe loved the idea of a chassid farmer. Him being close to nature was like the same thing as being close to God. It's maybe. I'm sorry, just 1 second. I just got a message which I don't understand. Okay, I apologize. the downside of the computer is that you know everything, so you have to stop to look at this, until you enter into tumult. Anyway, Reb Leizer Nanis grew up on these colonies, right? The Mittler Rebbe sent 2,000 mishpachas. By the time Reb Leizer Nanis was born, there were 10,000 mishpachas. It was a huge kil of anash in that whole region. You know, the names, the cities that you know is Padabronke and I forgot the names already. Nikolaev. Nikolaev is near the colonies. The Rebbe was born in Nikolaev. Our Rebbe was born. Romanovka. This is also the colonies in Kherson. The Rebbe's parents were born there. The Rebbe was born in Nikolaev. Nikolaev was a big city, but it was right there. And there were thousands and thousands of mishpachos of Anash. They stayed from the times of the Middle Rebbe till the Holocaust. The Anash, the Chassidim lived there. And each of the Masmid came to the colonies. And he spent Shabbos in the house of Leizer Nanis' parents. Let's say Leizer Nanis came from a very important mishpacha of Anash. They're very ehrlich. Each of the Masmid had been a Meshuggah. When it came to Frumkat, he was crazy. And he stayed in their house, in Leizer Nanis' parents' home. So you can understand that Leizer Nanis' parents are given ehrlich Yidden. Mrs. Nanis, Leizer Nanis' mother, wanted to make for each of the Masmid food for Shabbos. So she said to him, I want to make you chicken, fleish, and kugel. And each of the Masmid said, no, he doesn't want. He'll eat tzimmis, a sweet potato. But the Mrs. Nanis very much wanted to give him a Chol Shabbos. So she said to him, what's it going to take? What's it going to take that you should eat in my house basar? And you don't mean basar behem, you mean basar of sachakal. Chicken. So Rabbi Leizer said, if the sheikhet will come to the house, and I'll check the chalif right before the shechita, and right after the shechita I'll eat. And of course she'll kasher, and then he'll eat. So she did it. The sheikhet came to the house, and he shechted a chicken. He checked the chalif before the shechita, checked the chalif after the shechita, and shein. She took off the fur, the feathers, and the skin. She kashered the chicken. She cleaned it, she kashered it. And she made for him for Shabbos, he should have food that he could eat. And she also made kugel. Kugel really is the old word for chont. They didn't have chont like we have. You took one item of food, whatever you had, meat, whatever they had, they didn't have much. You put it into the oven. It baked in the oven overnight. So in the morning it was hard on top and hard on bottom. Kugel. Kugel was like chont. It was chamin. What happened was, when she made the kugel, she didn't have enough schmaltz. Every chicken comes with a little bit of schmaltz. It didn't have enough schmaltz. So she took schmaltz from a different chicken, and she mixed it into the kugel, and she forgot. Anyway, each of the Masber gedaven the ganzen Tag, Kedake Bakedish, all day long gedaven. In oven, Shabbos noch Mittag, is kommen heim obsessed. He came home to eat Shabbos, Sudat Shabbos. When he came into the house, the Rav in that city, and it says the names of these people, I remember the names, came to visit the Bishop of the Masmid and Farbregen with him. So the Bishop of the Masmid was eating breakfast at 5, 6 in the afternoon, you understand? And the Rav was a big Talmud Chacham and a big Yidei Shemaim, and a Chassid was sitting in Farbregen. So Mrs. Nanis was so happy she was able to give him a Chol Shabbos, a piece of chicken, a piece of fish, and then she brought him a piece of kugel. And the Bishop of the Masmid picked up the fork to eat the kugel, and he says to Mrs. Nanis, the schmaltz is von mine off. He had that chush hareach, he knew. Like almost like a Ruach HaKodesh. The schmaltz that you put into this piece of kugel is from my chicken. And she said, yeah. She forgot. She said, yeah. He picked up the fork, and he had no time. He didn't want to eat it. He picked up the fork, and he put it down. He picked up the fork. He pushed it, and he's not eating. He didn't even know why. Mrs. Nanis figured out later that there was schmaltz that was not from the chicken that he had checked the challah before and after, and pushed it almost like a Ruach HaKodesh. He didn't want to eat it. The Rav of that town, who was much older than the Bitcher, says to the Bitcher, the Masmid, I didn't have kugel. You should know, one of the things, Chabad is not very intimate in Hagim, but one of them in Hagim, Chabad is Shabbos daf mes and kugel. Shabbos daf mes and kugel. So he says to the Blazer, to the Bishop of the Masmid, I did not eat any kugel. If you're not going to eat the kugel, can I eat the kugel? He says, sure. So he ate the kugel. Blazer Nans was a bocher. He was home from yeshiva. And he witnessed this entire episode. He pushed saw on the Yifan HaKadosh, yeah? A Yid only eats chicken. Chicken. We're not talking about meat. Chicken. If he checks the challah before and after, somebody made a mistake and put schmaltz. I was 100% kosher from a different off. And he had Pasha didn't eat it. He didn't know why he didn't eat it. A little while after, a few months later, Rabbi Paltiel the Masmid came to the Rebbe Rashab, and if I'm not mistaken, it was not in Lubavitch anymore. It was in Slavinsk, or it was in Ural, or it was in Rostov. The Rebbe Rashab moved a few times, and there was once a night of Yechidus, and the maskir, the regular secretary, wasn't there. So the Friedrich Rebbe asked Leizer Nanes, who was from the Elter Bachrim, to stand by the door. The people go in, should be organized. Shem Mamtir, who goes in and who goes out. And if people take too long, you should go in and pull them out. And he stood there a whole night. One of the people who went into Yechidus that night to the Rebbe Rashab was the Bishop of the Masmid. Leizer Nanes was a ganef. He was a lowlife. He wanted to hear the Yechidus between the Rebbe Nishmaseid and the Bishop of the Masmid. So he left the door open, a crack, so he could hear. The Bishop of the Masmid walks into the Rebbe Rashab, and he starts crying. He's crying. And he tells the Rebbe Rashab the story that I just told you. How an old Lubavitcher Rav trusted the kashrus of Mrs. Nanas, and he ate her kugel, and he didn't. And he's pushed crying. And he says to the Rebbe Rashab, he says to the Rebbe Nishmas Eden, I took upon myself this hidur mitzvah, that I will not eat flesh, chicken, meat, forget about it, he wouldn't think about eating it. Unless I checked the challah before and after. And I didn't ask the Rebbe. I didn't ask the Rebbe if this is a good hidur mitzvah for me. In other words, you had to get reshus. You wanted to take on another chumri, you had to get reshus. He says, I didn't ask the Rebbe, but Mela, I'm asking the Rebbe, was I right or was I wrong? An old Lubavitcher Rav doesn't have this chumrah, and I do. Is it a good chumrah for me? And he's crying. And Leizer Nanes is standing by the door listening. He knew the first half of the story because he was a witness. And now he's hearing the second half of the story. And the Rebbe Rashab says, Nei Nietzsche, Fadir the Sagute Chumrah. Nay, over and over again. No, each of the Masmid is crying. He's very upset that he did something without asking reshus. And the Rebbe says, Nein itche, I think he told him, Fadir is jede Sache aninyan. But he told him, Nein itche, Fadir is a gute chumrah. This was the Yechidus. The reason I'm telling the story is to bring out this point. That, of course, Chassidim were mahadeh b'mitzvahs. And in our generation, the shita is always, Chatev v'achel, Chatev ishti. If you can be more mahadeh, you should take on every chumrah, every hidur mitzvah you can take on. It's a good thing. But there was an order to it. There was a system. It wasn't hefker. You take a hidur mitzvah, had a shus in the Rebbe. Why? There's an expression, best initial. Why? Because a frumkeit, which is not connected to Avodas Hashem, it's tam out of fear, it's almost like a superstition. Yiddishkeit doesn't consist of taking on every chumrah, every shita. You have to be the bigger the Baal Madrege, the more in yonim of chumrah of hidur mitzvah you can take on. And always the rule is you take on an extra inyan for Yiddish Shamayim, Favos. To quote Reb Hillel Paracher, the Rebbe said this many times, as also better upleg navot chsidis. You take on a hidur mitzvah and a chumrah so that you should be closer to the Eibishter. Right? A chumrah is not to stay out of Gehenim. You understand? A chumrah is to be close to Atzmas Ein Sof. This is how it works. Okay. Then comes Chasidus. Now you guys are young. Some of you are younger, some of you are older, but you guys are young, right? You're certainly younger than I am. Not that I'm old, but you're younger. And you learn Chasidus. So for some of you, Chasidus is like boring. What am I doing? And for some of you, Chasidus is pure Gan Eden. It's so delightful. It's such a wonderful just to be involved in Elokus and in Ruchnius and in Ein Sof and in Atzilus and in Sfiris and then in Partzufim. It's gewaldig. There's one thing that Chassidus doesn't have. Chassidus does not have Yegiya. Chassidus is Oyer, Kabbalah. It's Lichtigkeit. It lifts you up, raises you up. You don't have in Limud Chassidus the same Milchama, even, that you have in Limud HaNigle. And you certainly don't have in Limud HaChasidus the same Milchama that you have in life, in Askafye, in controlling your Yetzer Hara, to be careful where you look, and to be careful what you listen to, and to be careful what you put into your mouth, and to be careful what comes out of your mouth. In other words, in the area of his, Chassidus is Oyer. Chassidus is Oyer. And that's a shtikele sakone. Today you have hippies leminayim. Yeah, hippies leminayim. I don't want to give you an education, but they're called Chabakuk. You know what Chabakuk stands for? It's 4 letters. Ches, Beis, Kuf, Kuf. That's Chabad, Breslev, Karbach, Kuk. It means all the weird Jews in the world. What do they have in common? They're spiritual. Holy, Ruchnius. Very happy people, very spiritual people. But fighting with the Yetzer Hara, not necessarily. There are people on this planet who love Chassidus. And they love Taivas. And there's no contradiction. They learn Chassidus a half a day and the Ma'al Taiva half a day. Ayetz Estire. Because this is one of the things about Limud HaChasidus, which is a sakana. Chassidus is oir. Chassidus is just holiness. Chassidus is pure pleasure. And when you learn Chassidus and you have pleasure from Chassidus, and there's no iskafye, there's no fight, there's no mochama, then the Chassidus becomes a taiva. It becomes literally a taiva. The whole inyan of Chassidus is that it's oyer, it's lichtigkeit, it's elokus, it's getlichkeit, that rests on the iskafye that we do. On the iskafye that we do. And of course, this explains why there are so many objections to learning Kabbalah. Right? You go back in human history, Jewish history, there was Gzeris and Chumris, and there's Kabbalah. The Ramak says till 40, I think. The Rishayim say till 25. There was all kinds of Agbalas when you're allowed to learn Kabbalah. Why? What's wrong with learning Kabbalah? Imagine someone coming and making a Gzeir, you can't learn Gemara till you're 18. There's no such thing. Why, when it comes to Kabbalah, with all these Gzeiris? So the answer by Pashtus is because Kabbalah is very holy, and if a person learns Kabbalah and he's not shaykh limud Kabbalah, so then it's a chilul, it's a fashvechog, it's a desecration, it's a defilement of the kedusha. But the practical reason why there were so many gezeiros on limud Kabbalah, because when you learn pnimis HaTorah and you don't do an iskafiyah, it's like going on a trip. A trip, I mean like drug addicts go on trips, not like kids in camp go on trips. You go from reality. And it's not lifting you up. It's not bringing you closer to the Eibishter. And it's not Avodas Hashem. It could mamish be taiva. This is why, for a very, very long time, for most of our history, Kabbalah was for Yechidei Gula. Who learned Kabbalah? You know, it says in Likutei Torah, in Parshas Tazria, Biriru kol advarim, tiknu kol amaisim. People were very oizgeidelt. They could learn Pnimiyas HaTorah and they would lift them up. Stam Azay Yidden learning Kabbalah was a sakana. Until the Baal Shem Tov. Stays till the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov came along and he said, in the name of Mashiach Tzidkenu, Yefutzah Manasecha Chutza Ko'as Yimad Demalka Mashiach, which means that the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu depends on the Afatas HaChassidus. And the Baal Shem Tov began to be made for Samayonas HaChutza. I mean, you guys know the story. You guys know the story or not? You know the story. The Rebbe once mentioned the story by Farbregen. It's in the Polish Welt. It's one of those famous mices. It says in the letter from the Baal Shem Tov that when he met Mashiach, he asked Mashiach, when are you going to come? So Mashiach answered him, when all the Yidden are going to learn how to be miyachid yichudim kamaischa, or kishiyafutza manasecha chutza, when all Yidden are going to learn how to do yichudim like you, and when your mayonis are going to spread to the outside, then Mashiach will come. So the Baal Shem Tov writes, I started to cry. And he says, why? I started to cry because I realized the Mashiach is not going to come for a long time. So there's a word, which is given over Balpeh, probably it's in print also in many places, that even though the Baal Shem Tov writes in the letter why he cried, there was nevertheless a machlokes vasad gemein than Baal Shem Tov's tered. What was the reason Baal Shem Tov's tear? Who was the machlokes between? The machlokes was between the Alter Rebbe and the Baruch Meshbacher. The Baruch Meshbacher was the Baal Shem Tov's grandson. The Baruch Meshbacher's mother was her name was Odel, Aleph Dal Lamed Odel, and she was Baal Shem Tov's daughter Kipshut. He was Baal Shem Tov's grandson. The Baruch Meshbacher. The Baruch Meshbacher held that the real reason the Baal Shem Tov cried was because he was upset about Tishtapechna Avnei Kodesh Bereish Kol Chutzes. There's something so holy, so sacred, like Pnimius HaTorah, that for thousands of years they wouldn't let people learn it, and they end up rolling in the streets. Every Abi Vernik, nobody's going to be learning Pnimius HaTorah. So he cried that the Chassidus is going to be mischalel, desecrated, made ordinary. The Alter Rebbe said no. But the Baal Shem Tov cried because it's going to take so long for Mashiach to come. So since these two tzaddikim have differences of opinion why the Baal Shem Tov cried, but the Lashon is the Baal Shem Tov's tered, the Baal Shem Tov's tear, each one dedicated his life to healing, to remedying, to fixing the Baal Shem Tov's tear, l'shitosei. The Baruch Meshbacher fought against Havatas HaChassidus. He went to war that people should not be made for Chassidus Chutza. Why not? Because Baal Shem Tov cried that you're going to take Pnimius HaTorah with its incredible holiness, and he put it in the street, and everybody the Chad Yema is going to learn it and think he's a maven, and so on. The Alter Rebbe looked at the Baal Shem Tov's tered differently. Alter Rebbe looked at the Baal Shem Tov's tered. The Baal Shem Tov cried because he would say so long for Mashiach to come. So he immediately undertook to spread Chassidus as quickly and as broadly and as fast as possible to hasten the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu. So for thousands of years, Yidden didn't learn Pnimius HaTorah, and all of a sudden we are. And as the Rebbe always says, Ach she'dora b'tmiyah. No one is going to say that we learn Pnimius HaTorah because we're in a higher madrega than our ancestors. It's silly, it's foolish, it's dipshus. We learn Pnimius HaTorah in our generations for a simple reason. It's pekuach nefesh mamish. We learn Chassidus. Yeah, you guys are young, some of you. The kids start learning Chassidus when they're 10, when they're 11, when they're 12, and 13. And the fact is, Tevav Ne'adam is, if you would say to a 12-year-old Lubavitcher boy, or to a 13-year-old Lubavitcher boy, to a 14, you can't learn Chassidus till you're 16. And maybe you'll teach us once a week Tanya. That would create in so many of the kids such a tshuka, such a thirst for Chassidus. There'd be more Chassidus in wanting to learn Chassidus than in the learning Chassidus itself. But we don't do it. We teach children who are really ill-equipped. They're not sophisticated enough. They're not sensitive enough. They're not deep enough to understand what they're learning. And by the time the kids become old enough to understand what they're doing, they've learned so much Chassidus. They're so used to it that they don't appreciate how special it is. Why? Why did the Rebbe elect to go on this pathway? It's a teretz na posheter. Like the Baal Shem Tov, like the Alter Rebbe told the Pinchas Koretzer. Because it's poshet bekuach nefesh. It's the Even Tev shebekeser HaMelech. That the son of the king, the prince, is dying, and you have to keep him alive. And the only way to keep him alive is by giving him this potion. And the only way to get this potion is to take the stone, which is the foundation of the king's crown, that in order to get that stone out of the crown, you have to smash the crown to little pieces. And once the crown is smashed, it's smashed. And take out that Evan, grind it up into a powder, and give it to the prince. Maybe a few drops will be ingested and bleiben leb. So we teach Chassidus in a Kamos Rav, the Shemusha Shalteira, the Chassidus stories, and then even Limudah Chassidus itself, Tanya, my mother from a very early age. Even though Apiseichal and Apisvara, they don't have an ability to fully understand what they're doing. They really don't have an ability to fully do it. We teach it to them. Why? Because the shita is, if you give a Yiddish kind Chassidus, you're giving him Hatzalas Nefashos. Because Chassidus is a lakus. Chassidus is a munah. Chassidus is a oyer that touches the neshama. and a day before and a day after, it wakes up the neshama. And this is the derech, this is the shita of the Rebbeim, to take little children, teach them chassidus. They really can't understand what they're learning. They certainly can't appreciate how what they're learning is different and special. But they say this. But I want to say something on the other side. And that is, medafnish mahader sein in sein an idiot. Which means in English, for those whose Yiddish is a little bit faulty, it's not hidur mitzvah to be an idiot. What that means is this. It's taka true that the minig in our generations is to be meifetz mayanas chutza even to little children, and lahad even to goyim. But the tradition was to give an amol that in order for the Eira Chassidus, for Chassidus to touch me and to uplift me and to bring me closer to the Eibishter and to Einig Alaki is a skafia. It's a skafia. It's bending ourselves. And this is important to understand. The more iskafia we do, the more close to the Eid Alaki we become. I think it's important for people to be careful about iskafia, because iskafia can make you depressed, iskafia can make you angry, iskafia can make you nervous. Those are all bad things. But the idea from Begenzach, the idea that if we want the light of Chassidus to truly transform us, we have to give of ourselves. This is how it used to be, and this is how it is today by people with seichel. They don't just enjoy Chassidus. A Maimer Chassidus, a Seder Chassidus, a Limud of Chassidus comes along with a Hiddur Mitzvah, with a Iskafia. And that Iskafia affects that the Eira Chassidus, which you're going to learn, is Nimshach in Tapnimis, it's internalized. And Rashbi lived 2,000 years ago. In his generation, everybody was on such a high level. In other words, there was so much Iskafia, there was so much Bittul, that there was no Sakana. There was no Sakana. Everybody learned to sit, even children. But before Rabbi Shimon passed away, he instructed that they should write the Zayah down. And he also instructed the Zayah should be buried and hidden. And that's what happened. The Zayah was gone for a very, very long time. Why? Because of this fear. It's not the pshat that today the fear exists less than Amal. It's the pshat that we have no breda. It's pashat survival. Okay, l'chaim. L'chaim, everybody, l'chaim.
Chaim al-Vacha.
So we're going to sing the Alter Rebbe's Niggin, or we're not going to sing the Alter Rebbe's Niggin? What did the Komitet, what did the committee of rabbis say? Ah?
Ich hayosher bein av yasser.
Erstens darf man sein Ish. Und zweitens darf man haben Mascheiches mit Yashrus. Und drittens darf man haben edle, reine Augen. Ha? Und danach darf man verstehen, als Asiya meint, man darf sich drücken. You know that Asiya, du bist doch a Lamden. Asiya means like get me'use, like ma'asin al-tzdoke. It's not ish, but unless you teach Yasa, you force the other guy to do. And if Yasa means you force the other guy to do it, so they have to say Pshat and Ishkol Yosher be'einav Yasa is Zich Alein. So Kol HaYosher be'einav doesn't mean I can do it if I want, because then it's not Yasa. The hairs Menachem Mendel Ezra behind the mask.
I hear.
No, so you tell me. Should we sing the Alter Rebbe's thing? You didn't expect that, Pshat, huh? It would be nice if I could see your face, holy brother. Anstatt behalten sich.
Mitam on Kamos City, it's not possible.
In other words, you're Kamos mitam Kamos. Yes, Shloima, it's not the Pshat, the Tam is Kamos, that you want the Tam to remain Kamos. The only way the Tam is Kamos is because you're Kamos. Okay, I'm going to go get my hat.
Supposed to stay Kamos too.
I hear that. I'm going to get my hat and my jacket. You can all go your hats and your jackets. I found a mice with the Rebbetzin. I told this to you many times that the Rebbe came home surprised. B'chlal, when the Rebbe would come home, all the Bachrim would leave. There was a few Bachrim who worked in the house. Once the Rebbe came home early, and there was a few Bachrim in the house. I don't know how many. So one of the Bachrim ran to put on his hat and his jacket. So the Rebbetzin said to Shalom Gansberg, I think, is gegangen nehmen sein Chosid. Those are the words. Is gegangen nehmen sein... The Rebbetzin, the Fidig Rebbe's Tochter, the Rebbetzin. Is gegangen... In other words, you put your hat and your jacket on, oh, now you're a Chosid. You take your hat and jacket off, you're not a Chosid. I don't know if she was being critical. I don't even know if she meant it, but in these few words, you gang and them chassid, sein chassid, you put on your hat and your jacket. But I heard from the Rebbe myself, after gedenkst to Hirschel, the Rebbe gesagt amol. This is Bozeh HaLoshen Mamish. Men zet bemuchish was gresse de Hittel als mehr de Yerushalayim. Du gedenkst?
Nach Verbringen?
Ja, Shabbos. So mir stamme gewen noch Schliches bei mir, das heißt mit dem Zayen, mit dem Ches. Weißt du, bei mir, die ganze Leben geht in 3 Kuffes. Bis Schliches und doch Schliches. Sie gewen später. Es war Fahrschliches, wollte gedenkt. Was hat sich gerät darum? Du gedenkst nicht. Aber der Rebbe hat gesagt, sicher. Man sagt bemuchisch, der Rebbe gesagt, ein Chabad kocht man sich nicht in Chitzenies. Aber man sagt bemuchisch, das meiste hat mir gerät, der Rebbe hat der größte Hittel. Was größer der Hittel, als mehr der Yerushalayim. So, weißt du, als in der Regime steht, als der Rebbe Rayatz hat gesagt dem Rebbe, als der Tate seine, der Rebbe Rashab hat gesagt dem friedlichen Rebbe, ich bin mekane pelische Chitzenies. Das ist in der Regime.
Who said that?
The Rebbe Rashab told the Friedrich Rebbe, ich bin mekane pelische Chitzenies. The Rebbe Rashab spent a year or a few months in Vienna, in Tafre Samach Beis. There's a lot of stories that we know about that trip. And one of the things we know about the trip was he met a lot of different Chassidish kehilas. Not necessarily Rebbes, but he met Chassidim. He watched Chassidim in action. And he was sometimes quite impressed. Pelish Chassidim, he was very impressed with the Yerushalayim, with the Tmimus, with the Avos Hashem, with the Yiras Hashem, with the Avos Rebbe. And he would talk about it in a very, very favorable light. So I'm going to go get my chassid, okay? We'll think about the Rebbe's name. Ich komme schon zurück. Hey, Tochter, you look tired. Doesn't have to be. Okay, Chavre, I don't like to sing solo, so yeah, we can sing it all zusammen. Yeah, wir sagen, want to never sing. Unmute yourself. Shalom Bear, don't slow us down. I can't sing with you, man. Hi,